By now, and if you are on social media, in particular Twitter, you have seen this phrase pop up recently called black fatigue. And really, it's more so popped up after what recently happened with Shiloh Hendrix. And now they're using her as their totem, so to speak, in order to uplift them in some kind of beacon, or feel like she's gave them some kind of freedom or pass in order to say the N-word, because they want to also say it so many times without any type of consequence. And of course, by now you've already seen my video of the breakdown of freedom of speech, and if you haven't checked it out, I would highly suggest that you do. But today I'm going to talk about the breakdown of this black fatigue thing, the actual true definition. And how I wanted to start it was with this. I decided that I was going to ask a simple question on Twitter. I said, white people, can you explain to me what black fatigue is? This inquiring mind would like to know. Now, as you can see, it only had a low view count of 114 views, and the post was only up for less than an hour by the time I was getting ready to record this video. So who knows where it'll be at by the time I get ready to upload the video. But you know what? I have the strongest feeling that even if I got white people to respond to that post, I have the feeling that they wouldn't even be truthful with me. I could give them a strong and potent truth serum, and I don't even think that would make them be completely 100% honest with me as it pertains to black fatigue as they see it. But when I decided that I was going to go and make this video, I said I have to do my research because, of course, why not? So what I decided to do was go onto Google, and I just typed in black fatigue. Like, what is black fatigue? I was curious because when I typed it in, I'm expecting for their definition of the terminology or the phrasing to pop up. But guess what popped up when I did type in black fatigue? Yes, you see it right here. This book. It is a book called Black Fatigue: How Racism Erodes Mind, Body, and Spirit by Mary Frances Winters. And apparently, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this book got published in 2020 or somewhere between 2020 and 2022, somewhere in that ballpark range, which of course would have been, 5 years or maybe even 5 or 2, maybe 3 years ago, before PC started to say black fatigue. And I started to say to myself, okay, this is very interesting. Maybe this is going to lead me somewhere. And by the way, Mary Frances Winters is a black woman, just in case people was wondering what her ethnicity was. She is a black woman. And I said, okay, now I know that it was a book, but what is this book about? And it didn't take me long to actually get a brief synopsis of the books, which read, this book is the first book to define and explore black fatigue, the intergenerational impact of systemic racism on the physical and psychological health of black people, and explain why and how society needs to collectively do more to combat its pernicious efforts. So when I read that synopsis right there, and I think of how white people have been using it as of recently, maybe for like the last couple of weeks, I said there is a very staunch difference between the two. But I decided to go even further into this beyond what I just found with the synopsis of this book, because I said there has to be more to it, and more to it I did indeed find. The first thing that I ended up finding was this chart, this circular flow chart, and it was called The Unrelenting Causes and Effects of Black Fatigue. It says it starts with generations of oppressively inequitable life experiences and outcomes, unmitigated systemic racism, intergenerational stress and trauma, and inherited racist disparities in health. And the crazy part about it is you can start anywhere in this circle, and it's always a circular motion. So it's just a 360 thing that constantly continues to go on and on and on, like a hamster on a wheel. It's like an endless cycle. So putting it in the form of a circular chart actually shows that it's something that just does not end. It just continues to go, opposed to maybe a line chart where a line could have possibly an end. With a circle, it's always in rotation. It never stops unless it wants to stop, or something is a glitch and it just happens to stop on its own. But of course, I didn't stop there. I went and let's just say I dug even deeper than this, and this is what I ended up finding. Simply, what is the meaning of black fatigue? Black fatigue refers to the extreme exhaustion experienced by Black individuals due to the cumulative stress of systemic racism and intergenerational trauma, which, as you can see, was mentioned on that chart. It's a term coined by diversity and equity consultant Mary Frances Winters. Now, peep that. It was coined by her, this Black woman. But let PC tell it they were the ones that came up with it. Sounds like something else, right? It's a term coined by diversity and equity consultant Mary Frances Winters. This exhaustion manifests as physical, mental, and emotional weariness resulting from the daily burden of facing prejudice, microaggressions, and the need to constantly prove one's self. So that is the true definition right there of Black fatigue. For anyone who didn't know what the actual definition was, because I said to myself, if PC got a hold of it and their co-colonizing cohorts got a hold of it, then that's not necessarily true. I mean, look at what they did with the word woke. That was coined by Black people to be aware, to have self-awareness, especially when it comes to the world around us and especially in politics. But, you know, PC got a hold of it and they bastardized it and have bastardized it for God knows how many years now. And they're going to do the same thing with this. Let them tell it they were the ones that came up with this phrase when it wasn't. This is a terminology that's been around for at least 4 or 5 years now. And they took it and they flipped it. And I wouldn't be surprised if they knew about this phrasing. But they said, you know what? We're not going to do that. This Black woman, we're going to take it away from her. And we're going to flip it into whatever we want it to be. And we're going to turn it into us just being tired of Black people, quote unquote, telling us that we can't use the N-word when we should be able to do so because, you know, freedom of speech. That's really what it boils down to. Imagine you bastardizing a whole phrase just because you can't say a word that you want to say freely, even though you can say it. But again, freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequence. And what did we go over with freedom of speech? The government can't intervene. You have freedom of speech from the government. It doesn't say you have freedom of speech from everyday citizens, and they still have yet to grasp that concept. But let's continue moving forward. So to add on to what is Black fatigue, this also came up, the key aspects of Black fatigue. Systemic oppression. Black fatigue is rooted in the persistent and pervasive nature of racism and its impact on various aspects of life, including education, employment, and the criminal justice system. Intergenerational trauma. The ongoing effects of historical injustices and discrimination can lead to intergenerational stress, contributing to the exhaustion experienced by Black individuals. Daily stressors. Black individuals often encounter microaggressions, face the need to consistently justify their worth, and endure exposure to news about injustice and violence, all of which contribute to their fatigue. Impact on health. Black fatigue can negatively impact physical, mental, and emotional well-being, potentially leading to chronic stress, depression, and other health issues, according to the American Heart Association. And finally, need for understanding and action. Black fatigue highlights the need for white people and others to acknowledge their privilege and actively work towards dismantling systemic racism, according to the author Mary Frances Winters. So even with this little rundown right here, you're also getting a brief summary of what this woman's book is going to talk about, should you read it, or if you have indeed read it. Now let's literally look at, not so much break it down, but just look at what I just read to you, what you see on your screen. When you read that, now how could one compare the true Black fatigue that Black people actually deal with and have been dealing with for decades, maybe even centuries at this point? How can they compare that, and by they I'm talking about PC, to whatever it is they got going on? That's why I had made another post saying anti-whiteism isn't real, and surprise, surprise, none of them flooded the thread or my post about that, and I'm not surprised, because even they know it's not real. But it's the fact that they feel like they're oppressed because they can't say certain things without getting checked. That's as far as their anti-whiteism goes, so to speak, opposed to what we actually deal with. Now, when you look at this and you look at what they have going on, there is no comparison. Like if you was to put this on a scale, it would weigh heavily on our side, and they know it. But see, because they want to have the opportunity to say certain things or act out in a certain way and not get checked on it, I think that's the part right there. They feel like because they get checked on it, that's anti whatever. and they feel like we're constantly getting away with everything and no one's checking us. Excuse me, but black people have to be accountable not only for our own individual actions, which we should be, but also the collective. Like, how many times have we seen them post videos, and if you're on Twitter, you know what I'm talking about, of black people fighting or acting in a degenerative nature, and then they try to blame black culture on it or black people as a whole. I've seen so many posts on Twitter over the last couple of weeks of them posting videos, and these could be old videos. These could be videos from maybe 5 years ago, and we may have seen them, and they'll post them, and they could be completely out of context, of black people fighting wherever. They could be in a store, a restaurant, a theme park, whatever, and then they'll put black fatigue or we're tired of black culture. What they'll do is they'll put that, and instead of just talking about what's in the video amongst those individuals, then they just sit there and they try to put that on the entire black community or collective as a whole, to try to plant that seed in, as in we have to be separate or away from black people. And before I actually go into my next point, I find it interesting that they're talking about so-called black fatigue, and shout out to KG, because a live that he did actually made me also kind of want to talk about this, is that Kaisenette, now y'all know I have issues with Kaisenette, is doing this streamers university type of deal or type of thing. And apparently some post, I think called Kick Champ or whatever the page is called, put up there that apparently Kaisenette is doing these applications for people to become how to become streamers and all types of stuff like that. And it's a lot of good benefits behind it, especially since he's like one of the most popular, if not the most popular streamer in the world. And they put up a caption saying that white people in particular were upset because they felt left out, because apparently it was catered to black people or quote unquote people of color. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, that was a bait post, because from what I've heard, they haven't even sent the applications out yet. They just only dropped the trailer for it, for something that's up and coming. They haven't sent anything out yet. And even if they did, let's hypothetically say that post was true. White people, y'all the one that said y'all have black fatigue. If y'all have so-called black fatigue, why would you want to be around other black people? See, you're telling on yourselves. Y'all keep saying y'all tired of being around black people, or black culture, but when something is geared towards black people, and not saying that what Kaisenette is having is geared towards only black people, but say like that it is, why would you want to be a part of that if you're not trying to be near black people? It's the weirdest thing. But like I said, white supremacy is a weird thing. When you break it down into its molecular level, it's very weird. And I don't know if they realize it, but yeah, it's some lopsided ish. I will say that much. Now that I've gone over what actual black fatigue is, let's get into the Tiki Torch part of it. I was going to say pitchforks, but let's get to the Tiki Torch of it all. And it's funny how crazy this picture right here just lives in infamy. You know, if you remember what happened back in 2017 when this happened, this was a wild day or weekend in August. I will say that. And let's just talk about how PC defines black fatigue. And since I couldn't really find a definition of it, I just decided to go and type in black fatigue on Google and then put Twitter behind it. And I just came across a few posts. Some of them come from PC, and then some come from the usual, the co-colonizing cohort. So let's go over some of them right now. So we have this one right here from Klay Edwards. They says, I love the phrase black fatigue. It's much more fitting than racism or racist. I truly don't hate black people. I hate some people who just happen to be black as well as white. Well, what a backhanded statement that is. He says, I haven't mixed and mingled with enough other ethnic groups to have a strong opinion of them, yet it seems like he's about to have a strong opinion right now. A large portion of people have quote culture fatigue. 90% of the public displays of stupidity comes from one particular group of people, and it's the same story every time. That tells me it's a culture issue. See what I'd say? They always try to say they blame it on the culture. They can't see. The thing is, they can never just limit their issue. If say they have an issue with one black person, it can never just be one. It has to be everybody. And notice he says 90%. You know what? Let me continue again. That's why I say white supremacy is remedial. He says, my personal opinion is it's a lack of accountability issue. Everyone has been scared to death to publicly address the problems in the black community for the last 40 plus years, with fears of being called a racist, coon, Uncle Tom, or whatever other term they used to deflect. I've been standing up and calling it for 7 years and can assure you that it hasn't made my life easier, but I can rest my head easy knowing I haven't let the death threats and cancellation, which he misspelled, attempts to stop me from speaking the truth. So again, that right there is a long post of what they believe black fatigue is, or at least the PC version of it. Again, I just went over what the real definition is. Now I said we're going over the Tiki Torch version of it, but it doesn't stop there because I definitely have some more posts to go over. So this is a very short and straight to the point post from someone named John Shelby. They said black fatigue is everywhere. Okay, I suppose. We have this post right here. They go by the name of T-Mar. They said this guy has black fatigue, and it's from a video. I'm not sure what the video was on, but like I said, they could post something up there that could be out of context involving black people and say white people or whatever the case may be, and then they'll just say put black fatigue. Like, that's their new code word right there. In case y'all are unaware, if y'all are not on Twitter, black fatigue is their new code word. As a matter of fact, I think I saw in the last 2.5 weeks since the Shiloh Hendrix situation, I think I've seen the phrase black fatigue more than I saw woke on Twitter. I promise you. I think it got to the point where I had to mute the words black fatigue on Twitter just to try to, I guess you can say, quell down of me seeing it, even though I still see it, because of how the algorithm is. But yeah, I think I've seen black fatigue on Twitter more than woke in the last 2.5 weeks. At this point, I'd rather see neither. But with that algorithm, you just never know. Well, look at what we have here. One co-colonizing cohort right here, Demani Felder. And if y'all don't know, I recently did a bed bucking entry on that buffoon. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go check it out. So Demani says a lot of people have black fatigue, and not all of them are white people. Let me explain. I can only imagine what he's about to say in that 1 minute and 57-second video, and I bet you it's not even the real definition. It's whatever PC says. But then again, that's who Demani is. He peddles whatever they say, and like a good old boy. And I'm sure he would probably take that as a compliment or as a term of endearment. We have another co-colonizing cohort, Anton Daniels, and he is in the bed bucking Hall of Shame already. It was a double header with him and Charleston White. Anton says white people are saying they have black fatigue because they act ratchet, then refuse to take responsibility for their actions, blaming everything on the system, accurate or not. And it's a picture of a black woman. It looked like she has a grill in her mouth, and she's supposed to be the quote unquote typical angry black woman. And it's a video right there that he's watching of this white woman, I guess supposedly having black fatigue. So again, Anton, I'm not surprised by his antics at all whatsoever. And last but certainly not least, we have Annette Albbright. So apparently this is a post that Annette made and somebody was responding to it. Annette said on April 6, 2025, I understand this is not the reality for most of you Negroes. I'm not surprised that Annette is talking like this. If y'all saw the live I did on her, this is who she is. But she said, but my father's name is on my birth certificate. He was actually my mother's husband. So she's trying to say that, I don't fit in with the stereotypical black who comes from a single mother, with a bastard father, or a person that doesn't know who my father is. At least my mother was married. Annette, a lot of black people's parents are married again, but Annette, she's still salty about what happened to her with her her substitute teaching gig all them years ago. That's really what it boils down to. And then someone responded with, you already showed your face. Nobody should listen to you. And then of course, Annette doesn't let anything go, because if you bring her up or mention her, or she gets wind of your post, she's going to respond to you, sort of like what she did with me, which is why I cooked her a couple months ago, or whenever it was I did. She says, as stated, everyone has black fatigue. Black people need to stop feeling that they need to say anything to a person and not expect them to fight back simply because they are black. For future reference, when you when you see one tweet, understand that I was responding to something and take it from there. No apologies. And Annette always thinks that she's doing something. And the thing is, she talks slick with like this only to black people. She never talks like this, as far as I know, or far from what I've seen, to any other group of people. She only does that with us, and she feels she can always just get away with it. But black people be clowning her. Black people don't be taking Annette seriously. I don't even feel sorry for this woman, and I can't wait for her to get her next wake up call, because she's already gotten several so far. But the thing is about these individuals with these wake up calls is they get them and they don't even realize, and they could be the smallest ones, or they could be the biggest wake up call, and they still don't see it. It's like, wow, you just really walking around with your blinders on, just willingly walking right into those traps. But it is what it is. So really, in all, to conclude everything that I said here, black fatigue is indeed a thing, but it is not, let me repeat, it is not what white people and those buffoons that I talked about at the end has nothing to do with being quote unquote tired of black people. It has just is a thing of black people being tired of how the system has treated us over the years. That's really what it boils down to. So again, just like with the word woke, they done took something from a black person, or a phrase that a black person created, or a terminology, flipped it and bastardized it and turned it into this. I'm telling you, they are going to try to turn, this is the new code word. They are going to push this black fatigue thing for as far impossible as they can. And the thing is, they're going to have to push and propel so much propaganda in order for this to stick. See, when it came to woke, that was just the word that they use. And the thing is, it got blown so out of proportion that now that they start to use it when it comes to Hollywood. But with this is now propelled strictly onto one group, because it now has a color attached to it. See, with woke, they can mask it and say, oh, we're not talking about black people, we're talking about the LGBT, we're talking about Hollywood, we're talking about diversity, we're talking about gender and all this and that. With black fatigue, now it's direct, because now you're saying black. They're not saying Asian fatigue, they're not saying Hispanic fatigue, they're not saying Muslim fatigue, they're not saying Arab fatigue, they're saying black fatigue. So now it's limited to just one group. And like I said, this really all kicked off because of the Shiloh Hendrix thing. That's where it started. So we're talking about, when did that happen? Like early May. It's now May 11th. So they're going about 2.5, going on 3 weeks. We'll see where this is a year from now. But I just wanted to bring that to y'all attention. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I will talk to you in the next one.